This office received it on June the 6th, to specify the actions initiated to address the deficiencies. Sheriff?
Good morning. So, as the agenda stated, on the 20th, they conducted a comprehensive surprise inspection, and that there were 3 noted deficiencies, signature and signings on some logs that were not complete, or 1 log, 2 logs that were not sent to the JPs by statute. They were in time. They were not done in time, and so those 2 things were noted as deficiencies. As well as the staffing, as the judge stated, it's an issue that we've been fighting to much better use. The issues reference to the paperwork issues. We did training, and by the order of the jail commission, we have responded, sent them a reply stating that we will be doing the training. Plus, we also have to send 30 days worth of those specific forms to the jail commission or to that inspector, to making sure that the guys are getting that point, to make sure those things are being done. And then the third part is going to be a staffing issue, working through that. And that's listed in one of the other items on the agenda. Our thing that we're working on is just trying to reduce the inmates actually that are housed in our facility. The staffing is what it is. We're working. We got 2 that start tomorrow, I believe, but we already had 2 that left today. So we bring on 2 and 2 or 3 leave. So it's not an issue that's just for Polk County. It's one that I've talked to sheriffs across the state that are dealing with when it comes down to the staffing, as well as the inmate populations. Basically, I'm left there on your desk. Kind of outline today is we have 180 inmates. The courts and the probation departments and the district attorneys have been working their tails off on reducing those numbers, getting them moved through the courts. But even with that, while they're doing that, I still have 5 and 6 come to jail a night. The guys out right now on the raid, and I mean it's the summer, and population it just increases during the summer. It takes me 7 people on the floor with the number that we have now. And that number of population has to drastically reduce below 144 before I can even reduce 1 staff member on the floor. And then somebody comes to jail that night, boom, the requirements for that extra person is back there again. I'm not going to go well and wide concerning their requirements. The only thing I can do is just try my best to adhere to them. The staffing is an issue. And until we can figure out how we can kind of control it, these are some of the problems that we're going to run into. By the grace of God, it's not physical inmate issues or plant issues, it's just the paperwork things. But we all know that the paperwork things are in place to make sure that the other things stay in line. So we're working on those to make sure that the staff, as they come in, are trained and stay on top of it. But unfortunately, this is one of those situations where those issues were one of the things that got pulled and we were short when it comes down to submitting and then actually just signing a signature to them. And the only reason one of them was there is because it was so old, it had rolled off of the video camera, so we couldn't prove that we actually did that. The others we were able to substantiate, but these we couldn't because it was so old that it had already been videoed over. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that, hey, when we made the list, we're working hard to get the guys trained, documentation that they're requiring, and we put before them, and be able to get us off the list. Still thankful though, yeah, certainly could have been worse.
Can we still put people out at our age?
No, I've tried.
No, so that, the previous sheriff, we had those 25 beds, and we never used them, even when we got dinged by the jail commission. And so when we had to do the restructuring, then when IH came back, the requirements for the jail, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe it's 48 to 1, is that correct? So I learned way more about incarceration than I wanted. So it's 48-1 for a jail, but it's 64-1 if they're over there. And so they were having staffing issues, just like our jail was. And the problem was that when IAH brings people in, they may bring 250 people in at one time. And so that was making their staffing issues skyrocket, but then they may take 500 out the next day. So then they were all over the place. So what they requested, and the sheriff, previous sheriff agreed to it, was to release them from jail standards, because then they could stabilize their staffing better, because their staffing needs wouldn't fluctuate as much. So that's been long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been long gone. And they cannot house our inmates unless they go back to jail standards. Okay, the only question I have is, the jail commission sent me some stuff about how I need to be involved in this process somewhere.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
would you send me a copy of the correction plan or whatever?
It's already been sent.
Yeah, it's already been sent.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
I just wanna make sure that
It's already been
if
sent.
I'm supposed to sign on the dotted line, that that's not one more thing that,
Yeah, like the sheriff said, you know, as soon as we got gig, we went into motion. On the 22nd, we started conducting our training, reviewing the paperwork a little bit more. Like the sheriff said, yes, we were out of compliance because we didn't send it to the JP, but the inmate was never in danger or anything like that. If the inmate was in crisis, within 30, 40 minutes, the crisis hotline was notified. Okay, so I don't want y'all thinking that, you know, we were just not doing our job. So it was just the notifications were over the 12-hour set. And basically what it was is that first shift would get so busy, they would ask second shift to go ahead and send it. Then they would send it, then it would be over the 12 hours. But as far as if the inmate was in crisis, everyone that he looked at, they were notified within 30 minutes if the birth center needed to be notified. Once you went to the 1 to 48 guys, what y'all got to understand, if we had 48 inmates and one inmate comes in, we need another officer at that point in time. So we can't say, well, hey, this officer can watch this other inmate. We are sending rosters every day to them. I will tell you that we are doing, my first action plan with the sheriff was to, and I hate to say it, it's called voluntary overtime. So basically what I did is we got a calendar out, we put it in front of the officers, and we allowed them to pick the days that they would have to work. Our minimum number, like the sheriff said, is 7, but I actually added 1 in there because of call-ins. So we got 2 to 3 officers that are voluntary to work overtime. If I cannot meet that requirement, then they come to my office, then I'm mandatory. So my officers now, if you look at they're starting to accumulate a lot of time. And their question is, and this is what's brought to me, is that they're on a set budget. So there's daycare. So they're like, hey, for me to come in on these days, it's gonna cost me X amount of money. Hey, I live in Goodrich, I own a diesel, it's $3.89. I'm already on the budget. Now you're asking me, because these guys are working between 4 to 6 days extra, 12 hours a day extra. Now, there are some that are, so if I don't want to work overtime, but Mr. Lyons wants to work for me, we allow it.
But that's the only way you're gonna be able to get some of this back into compliance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only way we're gonna be able to get
Yeah,
the compliance.
but we're getting stretched thin. They are getting very tired and fatigued. There are 2 days, and it's mainly on the weekends. During the weekdays, you know, we got plenty of staff here. It's the weekends that people want off. So, you know, and it's not that the overtime's not coming in, we're getting call-ins more than what we're projecting.
Just burn out.
Yeah.
Just burn out. But we're working.
and we've been doing that, we've been, you know, paying the overtime, and.
That's a big deal.
And we're gonna move forward in terms of some of the recommendations.